Hey folks, how you doing? Dave Mcrae here. Welcome to episode 6 of Mcrae Live. It is episode 6, right? I think we're rocking episode 6 today. The date today is Friday. It's Friday, folks. It's Friday, January 17th, 2020. And we're rocking some Halloween talk today. I've got my Halloween jacket on, my 1978 Halloween jacket on. I've even got a little bit of Michael Myers going on there. You guys have seen this shirt before. It's pretty popular. It's pretty common. But yeah, we are talking some Halloween today. Halloween kills, Halloween ends, Halloween. Halloween it is, folks. I got my water here. It's Friday morning. I'm excited because working for the weekend. Hey, it's the weekend. The weekend is here. Are you excited for the weekend? You know what? It's January the 17th, and we still here in Toronto, in the greater Toronto area, do not have any snow. But that is going to change tomorrow, because they are calling for snow. We are going to get about 15 to 20, well, I think they're calling about 10 to 15 centimeters of snow. I don't know exactly what that is in inches. Maybe I could ask my little Google Home. Hey Google, how many inches is 15 centimeters?
15 centimeters is equal to 5.906 inches.
5
centimeters to inches. Divide the length value by 2.54.
Thank you, Google. Thank you. A little TMI. So 5.906 inches is how many inches of snow we are supposed to be getting over the next 24 hours or over the weekend. So winter has arrived, although I was kind of hoping, but you know what? Maybe it won't stick around. Maybe not. So yeah, we are talking Halloween today, Halloween update. There's a couple things I want to talk about here, and let me first get this out of the way, because there's no doubt. Look at all these lovely people in the chat room. Look at these amazing people. Look at these people. Hi, Dave. Hey, Dave. Ho, Dave. What's going on, Dave? Hey, Google. Jerbees. Tabitha Short says, Dave, you made my Google Mini answer your question. Oh, that's hilarious. That's funny. That's awesome. That's amazing. That's weird, too, because isn't it supposed to be like voice, kind of like to your own voice or something? Anyway, yeah, so we are, obviously there is Halloween. Okay, look, there's, okay, so let me get this off my chest first. I am aware that there is a script floating around online that is supposedly a first draft of Halloween Kills. Now, that will be news to some of you. It will not be news to the other people watching. I was aware of it. Let me say that no, I am not going to put a link to it. I'm not going to share it on the off chance that it is legitimate. Now, somebody reached out to me, and somebody who works in the film industry, and said they had a look at it. And I asked them if I could have a look at it as well. And the reason why I wanted to have a look at it is not necessarily for the same reasons that maybe some of you would want to have a look at it. The reason why I wanted to have a look at it was because I wanted to see the structure of this supposed leaked screenplay. And because I know how to write a screenplay. And certainly I've not written a major Hollywood blockbuster, but certainly I understand the process, and I understand sort of the structure of a screenplay. And if the screenplay was fake, and it was somebody just writing it, pretending it would be very apparent and obvious on just looking at the structure of the screenplay. Because writing a screenplay is very different than writing a novel or a book or something to that effect. There's a very specific formula and structure that a screenplay has. So that's one of the reasons, if not the main reason, I wanted to have a look at it, because as soon as I saw it, I'd be like, yeah, no, this is fake, because it would not have been written this way. So that's one of the reasons why I wrote it. I wish I wrote it. One of the reasons why I wanted to have a look at it, but I'm not going to share the link because I know there are some people that have said, no, it's real. It's been confirmed. I know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody that said this is somebody and it's been confirmed. Okay, that's fine. But I don't know that somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, and I don't know who you are. So I can't say with absolute certainty whether or not whether it's confirmed. And so I did have a look at it. I'm not going to tell you anything about it because I don't think that's fair. But what I am going to say is that the structure is correct. So if it is fake, it's written by somebody who knows how to write a screenplay. The structure is correct. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it is legitimate. And it may be a first draft, and who knows what's even in there. Things can change, as we all know. Yesterday, of course, I was talking about the Colin Trevorrow script and how that was a first draft, and even the things in there may not have even ended up in the actual movie. Who the hell knows? It's very important to remember on both sides of the coin. If you are somebody that happens to get your hands on this leaked script, if you are somebody that has seen it, because you don't care and you just want, I need everything. It's important to keep in mind that whether you like what you read or you don't like what you read, it's all in the execution. And like I said yesterday, there have been a plethora of examples over the years of scripts, treatments, plot outlines, ideas that sound fantastic on paper, but that are poorly executed on screen. And vice versa. There have been a plethora of examples where, you read a script or you read a plot synopsis or, an outline where you're like, but you go see the movie and you're like, wow, that's fucking fantastic. Because it's all in the execution. Because there are nuances and details and things that can change. And, there's so many variables at play. So for those of you that have read it, or if you're going to read it, and you don't like what you see or read or hear, whatever, just take it with a grain of salt. It may not even be. Things might change. Who the hell knows? But I am astounded, although I'm not at the same time, because I do understand that how these things can take place. And I haven't read the whole thing, by the way. I just read the first 20 pages, I guess, because I wanted to get a sense of the structure and a sense of the dialogue and how it was written. There's very specific things that when you are writing a screenplay, for things to be natural, for things to sound natural, like an example would be, and this is just one example, okay? Say you're writing a script and you want your character Jane to say something like, I'm going to go to the store, right? Well, to make things seem natural and flow, very rarely do we say, I'm going to go to the store. No, we say, I'm going to go to the store, right? Gonna, Gonna. So those are details and things that a scriptwriter would know. Or somebody who's written a few would definitely know, where an inexperienced person might be a little too informal. So I was looking for things like that, gonna, shoulda, coulda, things like that to make things sound a bit more natural. Whether the action of the of the script was written in sort of in a show don't tell, because that's also very important as well. It's very different than writing a novel. It's a very different process, and there are software, like Movie Magic, Screenwriter, I think even was it Final Draft, I think is one. There are specific softwares specifically for writing scripts. Now, you can write one in Word if you wanted to, but if you actually have a specific piece of software, everything is just right there ready to go. It's just you hit enter and it's already in the right spot where you need it to be. You don't have to tab, like all that kind of shit. You know what I mean? So it's fantastic. And those of you that have written scripts, you guys know what I'm talking about if you've used that kind of software. So that's primarily one of the reasons why I wanted to look at it, because things don't, like, unless there is something that is like a no, I am your father in The Empire Strikes Back, that's a massive spoiler, right? I mean, if I knew that before going in, yeah, that kind of ruins the experience. But at the end of the day, what's a spoiler to me may not be a spoiler to you, so you always err on the side of caution. That's why I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to say that it's out there because I know that, I'm not revealing that. It's common. People know that there's this thing that's going around that's out there. But I'm not going to talk about what I read because it's difficult to know. I know there are people that claim that it is absolutely a first draft from this person, and or it is I get that, but it's difficult to know. Because this, of course, comes out 3 months after we've seen certain things in Halloween Kills through promotional videos and images. So it's difficult to know whether or not, this is just some fan's incredible imagination utilizing the things that they've seen to make them fit, or if it actually is legit. And it could be legit, but I'm not here to say whether it is or it isn't because I wasn't there. I don't know. So unless, David Gordon Green reaches out to me and says, yeah, it is, man, keep your fucking trap shut. I mean, well, then, you know what I mean? But some guy on Reddit named, Billy Bob Joe who says, hey, man, it is, it doesn't mean anything to me, because it's so anybody. I could write a script right now. I could take a week and write a script because I know how to do it, and I could post it on Reddit under a name, and it would catch on like wildfire. It's so easy. That doesn't mean that the things you see on Reddit are not true, but because it's so easy to also fake it, it's you always have to take things with a grain of salt. That doesn't mean it's not real. It doesn't. I mean, look at the leaks for the Rise of Skywalker, right? It doesn't mean it's not real, but but Reddit is also full of shit that isn't real. So, I mean, you kind of have to take things with a grain of salt. But I just wanted to say that for those of you that have read it, if you really love it, hold on, take your, maybe it's not going to, if you really hate it, hold on, you know what I mean? Because it's very, who knows at the end of the day. But I will say that the structure is correct. So, I mean, take that, for what you will. So the thing that I wanted to, talk about, which was really interesting here, is the timeline. Now, for those of you that have read, now I haven't read that leaked script all the way through. So, and I will say this, although I think this goes without saying, that if you've read it, don't post anything about it in the chat room. I'll just block you. Like, just don't do that. Like, it's just, because we don't know. Now, I see somebody here says that Bernie Matto says Ryan Turk posts on Twitter that it was fake, and it could be. It could be fake, right? Who knows? Or is Ryan Turk doing what a good producer does and does damage control by saying it's fake? And he feels confident in saying it's fake because it was a first draft, and many things in that first draft have since changed. So what you're going to see in the final product is sort of is not really what you see there. Who knows, right? I mean, when you're dealing with multi-million-dollar productions, there's a lot at stake. And when things get leaked, and things do, but when things get leaked, there's a lot at stake in terms of it's a business, right? So, I mean, they want to keep certain things close to the vest to give them the probability of success of having the viewers experience what they're delivering, the product, for the first time in its intended medium, and, which is in the movie theater for the first time. That's where you're supposed to see it. That's where you're supposed to see all this information revealed, not in a leaked script a year prior to the movie being released. So, and, it could hinder box office. It could piss fans off unnecessarily before they even need to be pissed off. I mean, there's all sorts of things that go around like that. So who knows? And it could be fake as well, right? We don't know. So that's what I'm just trying to say, is that just take things with a grain of salt. Reddit is not the gospel. Okay, there's for every legitimate thing that is leaked on Reddit, there are probably 5,000 other things that are crap. Okay, so we have to keep that in mind. All right. So the thing I want to talk about though is a hair in my mouth. I think it's a cat hair. So what happens when you have animals? Those who have animals will definitely know what I'm talking about. So I was doing and this is very interesting indeed. So I was doing a Patreon only live AMA Actually, it was my Thorazine episode. Thorazine, of course, is what Dr. Loomis wanted to inject Michael Myers with at the beginning of the original Halloween, before he took him in front of the judge. But for the last year or so, every second Saturday, on average, I mean, depending, unless I have to move it, I run a Halloween-only live AMA for an hour for my level 3 patrons. Anyway, so... or we just talk Halloween. And Jim Dorsey, if you're watching, Jim, how you doing, buddy? He's a great supporter of the channel. Jim is a level 3 patron, and he said to me, Dave, get this. He said, a couple of months ago, I was at Monster Mania. I think it was Monster Mania. I stand to be corrected, Jim. Excuse me if I got that wrong. But he was at a horror convention. I think it was Monster Mania, and he was talking to Nick Castle. Now, maybe some of you already know this because maybe you've asked Nick this too. But of course, I haven't had an opportunity to see Nick, so I didn't know this. Now, whether Nick is telling the truth or whether he's, putting little things out there to kind of mislead the audience, not in a bad way per se, right? Like not trying to, deceive you in a bad way, but just sort of, kind of want to keep you guessing. Who knows? But according to Nick Castle, and Jim asked him outright, Nick Castle said that both Halloween Ends and Halloween Kills, which means also Halloween 2018, if you think about it, all 3 movies, apparently, according to Jim, which was a good television show, by the way, in the 2000s, starring Jim Belushi. You guys remember According to Jim? I like Jim Belushi. I think it's hilarious. According to Jim Dorsey, Nick Castle said that both Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends happen on the same night, which means that Halloween 2018, Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends is all one night. Now, when Jim said that to me, my first reaction was, really? But here's the thing. I remember talking about this months ago on this channel, and I remember saying that I suspected, which is one of the reasons why my sequel concept idea video takes place the same night, right? So I have a sequel concept idea on my channel, and it is a sequel. It's my idea for a sequel to Halloween 2018, but it's one movie. So I approached it from the perspective of there's one extra movie, and this is how I'm going to wrap it up, and here's what happens, and it's the end of Halloween as we know it, and blah, blah, blah. And at the beginning of that video, I said that, if there's any similarities or even, exact things, essentially, that appear in my concept, which was released in July, and Halloween Kills, it's purely coincidental because obviously I'm not privy to what Blumhouse is doing with Halloween. So they haven't told me. But when you understand the Halloween franchise and you understand, you look at the 2018 movie and you figure out, where's the logical choice that would make sense to pick up and do this, that, and the other and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to sort of, figure out what's the best probability of where they would probably begin Halloween Kills, right? So mine picks up immediately where the first one left off, and it's a black screen, and you hear fire, and we open up, and you see the house on fire, and you see the firemen trying to put out the fire, and things like that. That was in my concept back in July. And but I remember thinking that how on earth, if they're doing 2 extra movies, I remember thinking that, well, Halloween Kills can begin right where the first one left off. That makes sense, right? But would Halloween Ends be the same night? It seems like a very long night, as one of my patrons said on my live feed last night. Jacqueline McEwen. Jacqueline, if you're watching, she said it's got to be a long fucking night. And it would be a long night. And of course, you would have to go after midnight eventually at some point. And I know technically now it's November 1st, and technically it's no longer Halloween. But for all intents and purposes, it's still Halloween night. And so that doesn't bother me. Even most of Halloween 2 from 1981 took place in the early morning hours of November 1st. If you think about it, right? So that doesn't really bother me. But I just find it interesting that, wow. So, and now when I think of Halloween Ends, the title Halloween Ends, it's not just talking about the series. It's not just talking about Halloween as we know it. It's talking about, the night as well. Halloween ends. You know what I mean? Now it will probably end very much in the same ways that Halloween 2 from 1981 ended, which was at dawn, right? Where we saw Laurie, in the wheelchair, and she's now being loaded into the wheelchair, and there she is, Laurie Strode, ladies and gentlemen. Remember that, right? Well, that it's probably going to end in a similar way, in the sense that Halloween Ends will end at daybreak, 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 a.m. or something like that. So, and I like that idea, but it's funny to me at the same time, because I think, do they really they have enough material for 2 extra movies in the same night? But at the same time, it makes sense, because it almost would feel anticlimactic to have Halloween Kills and then you have a break. And then you have to jump like a year in the future, or however long you go in the future, because then you have to justify, well, is Michael caught again? Or does he walk off into the ether and nobody knows where he is, right? You have to, that's a reality when you're sitting down to write the rest of this story that you have to face. It's like, okay, well, what's this, like, how does that work, right? If it is all in one night, which is interesting. I know, like, at first thought, they might be like, wow, that's really cool. And it is, but it makes me really curious how they're going to do it in terms of, is there enough material to extend, this one night over 3 films? I mean, listen, you extended, 24 with Kiefer Sutherland. They had 24 episodes, and each episode was just an hour in the guy's day. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you can do it. You can absolutely do it. But I guess because I wasn't a huge fan of the 2018 film, there were some things that I liked, but overall, I wasn't crazy on it. I gave it a C+. I didn't think it was what it there were moments in there I really liked, which is what made the things I didn't like that much more frustrating. But I certainly, I think that's part of why I'm like, how are you extending this for 2 more movies? Like, I could see another movie, sure, like 1 extra film, I could totally see. But, I mean, David Gordon Green and Danny McBride must have something up their sleeves, because I know that in the original, back in 2018, there was the rumor that was floating around, and then was eventually confirmed by David Gordon Green and Danny McBride, that they had thought, at first it was a rumor, that they had thought about shooting 2 movies back to back. And then they thought, well, hang on a second here, let's not put the cart before the horse. Let's shoot this movie first and see how we do, and see if it's well received. And then, we'll end it in a way that you don't necessarily have to go on. It's that sort of somewhat ambiguous ending, but you could totally end it as well, but you could totally go on as well. It's that kind of an ending, right? You see that all the time. So that's what they did. And then, another cat hair in my mouth. I was petting my cat before the show. And that's what they did. And then, of course, it was such a huge success that I guess they put into action their idea for that other movie that they were going to do. But because it was so successful, $250 million at the worldwide box office, the highest grossing slasher in motion picture history, and there's variables and reasons for that. It's not because it was a fantastic movie. I mean, as we know, box office receipts, don't equate to quality. They can, but they're not mutually exclusive to each other. I mean, there's plenty of examples of shitty movies making millions of dollars at the box office. But it did well, and there's reasons for that. And it was a huge win for Blumhouse and the Halloween franchise as a whole. So I can understand putting into action that second movie, but then putting into action that third movie, I'm skeptical, because, not because I don't believe they necessarily have, they've obviously written something to extend it, but as we know, third installments in trilogies, because that's essentially what this is becoming, even though it's more of a quadrilogy, per se, because, Halloween 1978 is a part of this series. This new incarnation of Halloween and Michael for all intents and purposes. It's a trilogy. It's now becoming a trilogy. It's David Gordon Green's Halloween trilogy. Well, the third installment in trilogies sometimes, can be a little weaker. You look at The Dark Knight Rises, or you look at, Return of the Jedi. And I'm not saying Return of the Jedi and The Dark Knight Rises are not great. I'm saying in comparison to. Usually you see a bit of a dip. And especially in horror, sometimes that can happen. I know what some of you might be thinking. Yeah, what about Dream Warriors, man? That was amazing. Well, yes, but that was almost like it was starting again at the same time, because you had this awkward middle chapter. So it's almost not really fair. I mean, Dream Warriors is really a sequel to the original Elm Street, even though chronologically it's number 3, if you know what I mean. So that's not really a fair comparison, But, traditionally when we look at third installments, that doesn't mean you can't find one that isn't good, but generally they tend to kind of, and so I'm a little skeptical on that. I find that interesting. But I'm very curious to see what they have in store and what exactly, is going to extend this night. Now, I have not read that supposed leaked script. I read the first 20 pages, like I said, because I was trying to get an idea of the structure of the screenplay and whether or not this could be legitimate, because, like I said, if an amateur wrote it, it would be very apparent, because there would be certain things and details in a script that, it'd be like, yeah, no, this is, but the structure is there. So it reads legit, but I haven't read all of it. But I said months ago, and just to sort of recap sort of where we are, because we know very little at this present time, that just from what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing in the promotional shit that they've been releasing, and also I guess I take some of this from my own concept idea back in July. And it looks like they might be going that way, in the sense of that, like I said, Laurie might spend most of her time in the hospital. And then, of course, really the focus is on Tommy and Marion and Lindsay, and they're out there trying to find Michael Myers. I think that's where the primary focus will be. And then the flashbacks will, you have Lonnie Lamb as well. He's going to get in on it. He'll probably be killed by Michael Myers, because out of everybody, he's the most expendable, right? Because nobody likes him, right? I mean, people like Tommy. They like Lindsay. They like Marion. They like Brackett, right? So all those returning characters, not that they're not going to die. I think one of them's got to go. But if there's a guarantee of who's going to go in Halloween Kills, I think the first person you would look at is probably Lonnie Lamb. I don't think Laurie's going to go. I think she'll survive to the end, and I'm okay with that because I think it should end with Laurie and Michael, but in a very specific, unique way, to make it feel organic. But yeah, I find all this very fascinating and very interesting. And then what Halloween Ends will be, that's where I'm kind of like, I'm scratching my head, and I'm thinking to myself, well, I can totally see what Halloween Kills would be, because I sort of wrote my own Halloween Kills with the sequel concept, even though my film was called The Shape. But, for all intents and purposes, it's sort of my version of a Halloween Kills, even before we knew anything about Halloween Kills. So, and from what I'm seeing from the released footage and the promotional stuff for Halloween Kills, I look at sort of my idea for what I did with The Shape, and we're kind of aligning in some sense, but I'm not saying, oh, look at me, I'm so good. You could have done it too. Like, if you really sat down and thought, okay, where are we going to begin here? What makes the most sense? What feels organic? So I kind of have a feeling of how Halloween Kills is going to go, at least the ballpark of it. But Ends is a mystery to me, because at this present time, I just don't. I'm struggling to see how you extend this, unless it's just, it's a slower, more methodical installment than I think it's going to be. And maybe not. I mean, look, maybe they're both exactly what we think they're going to be, but, Ends is just more of the, I don't know. I don't really know. Because I just don't know if there's enough material. It's fascinating. I find it very interesting. But my predictions for Kills is what they've been. They're still sort of what they've been since the footage was released on Halloween, which is Laurie will probably spend most of her time in the hospital. Now, I haven't read that supposed leaked script, so I really don't know if that's what's in there. Maybe it is. I don't know. And please don't say anything if you have read it. I mean, be respectful and mindful of everybody here in the chat. We're trying to build a good Halloween community here, and I want people to feel that they can come to these shows and not necessarily be spoiled by anything that is. Of course, I can't guarantee that. You're always going to have some loser that decides to do that, but just do your best if you have read it not to say anything of any great detail. Have respect for your fellow viewers here in the chat. But saying that, I suspect that it will primarily focus on Tommy, Lindsay, and Lonnie and Marion, and they're sort of like this ragtag group of, OGs who are out there trying to hunt down the Shape as Michael continues to make his way through Haddonfield, and maybe even trying to make his way back to Laurie. This time, maybe it is just for revenge, not because he's a sister, because fuck, man, you try to fucking burn me, you son of a bitch. And then I have a feeling that and maybe not, maybe I'm wrong, but I have a feeling that there will be something happening at Haddonfield Memorial. So I don't know. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? And even if that's not what's in this supposed leaked script, I mean, who knows what's in it now? I mean, that could have been a first draft. Ryan Turk even says that's not it. So if this leaked script really is a complete fake, it's not even anything, it's completely fake, then it was written by somebody who knows how to write a screenplay. 100%. I'm really curious. That was sort of the crux of this show, was that information that my patron said to me about how Nick Castle himself has said that, yes, Halloween Kills and Ends take place in the same night, which means that Halloween 2018, all three movies take place in the same night, which is cool. But am I the only one that's kind of like, whoa, okay, how are they going to do that and make it and still make it interesting? Like there isn't a break. It's fascinating to me, really interesting. So I'm going to open it up to you guys, and I want to hear what you guys have to say, and I want to know what some of your thoughts are right now. I will get to as many as I can and read as many as I can. Again, super chats obviously take priority for obvious reasons, but I will try to read as many non-super chats as I can. But as usual, we have 211 people watching at the moment. If I don't get to your question, it's not personal. It never is. Okay, I don't know you. It's not personal. Like, hey man, I don't like that guy. No, not at all. Just I'd like to be thorough with my answers, and obviously we'll see how this goes. Now there was a super chat that came in. We have Todd Fair here, but there was one that earlier. I think that was the only one. Maybe Big G. Let me go to my live here. Make sure I didn't miss that. Why am I not seeing my super chats there? Let me just refresh this. I should see it. Oh, there we go. Yes, just 2 super chats. Okay, good. 2 super chats. And Big G says, will you do a 2 dudes viewing Fright Night 85? I don't know. It's a good question, buddy. It's a good question. I'm not going to say no. I'd have to talk to Tony about that and see whether he wants to do that. Super chat comes in from Todd Fayer. Thank you, Todd. Says, hi, Rave. Hey, I'll take Rave over Dave. Hi, Dave. Do you believe David Gordon Green or Blumhouse or both decided to make these 3 new Halloween films political like they did with Black Christmas? No. I don't think you're going to get that kind of sort of undertone / overtone, that you did with Black Christmas. Now, I do believe this, that in order for Laurie to come back, in order for Jamie Lee Curtis to come back, she needed something in the script, in the story, even if it wasn't really there, but I believe, because of how much Jamie Lee Curtis focused on the word trauma and focused on that aspect of Halloween 2018. And there's no doubt that when you watch the movie, that is an aspect of the movie. But the way she focused on it, she was very proud of that. She's obviously very vocal on social media about her distaste for the current administration in the United States, for her, love of certain things and her hate of certain things. Love it or hate it, like it or not, we know she's very outspoken. And because of that, I think there needed to be something in the original script for her as an actress at her age to get inspired about, where she is personally as well, that she can sort of glom onto that and run with that. Because if it was just surface level stuff right the way through, I don't think at her age it would have inspired her to come back. No matter how cool it was, no matter the fact that, Jake Gyllenhaal knows David Gordon Green and put in a good word for all this shit. It doesn't matter. A script, if it's a good script, it's a good script. I think she liked the idea of, I think I have no evidence of this, but I think that, when you get to a certain age as well, especially for women in Hollywood, you are not in as high demand because unfortunately, it doesn't matter, right or wrong, for better or worse, women, there is a very, obviously looks play a huge part. And for men too, but not nearly as, the pressure for women is so much greater than it is for men. And when you get to a certain age for a woman, you're not as in high demand. So, she was approaching 60. She read the script. It put her back in the limelight. She was going to make a bit of money, and there was something in that script that she could feel passionately about, which is why, every press tour was trauma, right? Not even talking about, well, it's really cool that, Michael is no, it's about, because that was very important to her. Do I think that was David Gordon Green's plan? No, I just think is like, hey, lady, if you want to take that and okay. So I think you're going to get an extension of that continuing. I definitely think that, and I think that's fine. I'm okay with that because you've established that in the first movie. So I am okay with you continuing to run with that idea in terms of trauma and how it affects certain people in your family. I'm okay with that. I don't think you're going to get the same sort of overt or obvious, political narrative that you got in Black Christmas. I mean, that was a little too preachy, a little too in your face and on the nose, and it didn't feel organic. It felt shoehorned in, and nobody likes to be told how to think. They want to at least, well, we live in this groupthink confirmation bias world, so people do like to be told how to think and what to think, even if they don't even realize it. But I think you know what I'm trying to say, right? So I don't think you're going to get it, but I think you are going to continue to get that trauma aspect of it, because I think that's not just important to Laurie. I think it was important to Jamie. And I think that in order to keep her on, they need to sort of, keep that there. And it worked, and it makes sense for the character. I mean, it does. It's not like it doesn't feel organic. It makes total sense. I still believe that, I have a love-hate relationship with this thought, because I do understand why they negated Halloween 2 from 1981, the brother-sister arc, and having to explain how Michael is still alive after being burned and his eyeball shot out, while trying to keep him as the original intent of the character, is next to impossible. You just can't do it. But I'm not a big fan of the brother-sister arc. I mean, it has its place, so I was okay with them negating Part 2, but at the same time, everything that happened in Part 2 would have contributed to her trauma. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not here to say that, she didn't experience enough in Part 1 in order for this woman to have been suffering from PTSD for, the rest of her life and have 2 failed marriages and a failed, being a parent and all that. Who the fuck am I to say? I have no idea. It can be very person specific. But I do know that the things that happened in Halloween 2 from 1981 only would have helped to sell the idea of this basket case woman and the shit that she's been through her entire life. It would have made it feel even more believable. I know that for some, it felt a little strange that she was this kind of a woman after just the events in Halloween 1. But who knows, right? I mean, who are we to judge? So, yeah, that's my answer to that. Let's see here. Oh, a couple of super chats came in. Thank you, guys. Much appreciated. Michael Rojas, am I saying that right? $4,000. Oh my God. No, calm down, everybody. It's not. It's a different currency. Do you think we'll see Dr. Loomis in the flashback? No. I don't think so. I mean, it depends what you mean, right? Like, will we see the back of his head? Will we see, kind of his face or whatever, right? It all depends. Again, it depends on what sort of flashbacks they're utilizing. I mean, you've heard me say this on a number of occasions that, is it the dreamlike flashback? Is it a fleshed out, realized scene that's a flashback? Is that what's happening? It all depends, right? Because there's a lot of different ways you can approach a flashback. I don't think we'll see him, though. No, I think we might hear him again, but I don't think we'll see him. But you never know. Chris Baber, Super Chat. Thanks, buddy. Sartain helped Michael get from point A to B to C, but now he's completely on his own. This could slow down the pace for 2 movies. Thoughts? Well, I mean, Sartain wasn't really doing anything with Michael in the first movie either, per se. I mean, certainly he helped Michael get from... I understand what you're saying. Obviously, it's alluded to the fact that Sartain was the one responsible for the bus crash. And of course, we know that Sartain is the one that literally drove him essentially 3/4 of the way to Laurie's house. So I get what you're saying. I think the pace in and of itself is interesting to me because of, because this is, if Nick Castle is right, and he's not pulling Jim Dorsey's, leg, or he's not trying to be sort of, secretive and just kind of, putting out misinformation, all in good fun to try and keep the, the story and the secret of what they're doing intact, which I understand. But if he is right, and by the way, I believe according to Nick, he's just in one scene again, which is I get it. But if he's right and kills and ends take place in the same night, yeah, I don't know what sort of material you have that you're able to extend it 2 extra movies. 1, I get it. I get it. I mean, that's why my sequel concept was just 1. Because I was like, how do I extend this beyond that? It just seems like you would be recycling a lot of information unless you begin to unpack and reveal a lot of things, which is interesting because that takes up a lot of time through exposition and action and things like that. But I certainly don't want any more information about Michael revealed. I mean, Michael, this incarnation of Michael, which of course is supposed to be from the original film, works best, as you've heard me say, in small doses, works best when the enigma and the mystique is kept intact. So I'm really hoping that over these next 2 films, they're not unraveling things about Michael Myers. I mean, you can unravel little things, like maybe there's, you find out one little anecdotal thing that doesn't really affect anything at the end of the day. But diving deep into the psychology of Michael and the layers of what he's doing and stuff, that's tricky. That's a tricky thing to approach because of what makes Michael work so well. Now, diving into the psychology of how Michael and that event has affected those people like Lonnie and Tommy and Lindsay and Marion and Laurie and Brackett, and that I think is more likely what they're going to do, because we've also heard Laurie Strode, well, she is, but Jamie Lee Curtis say on the red carpet when she was promoting Knives Out, she said that these next 2 films are going to really unpack, the 1978 movie. Well, what does she mean by that? Well, does she mean by unpack the mysteries and the layers of the 1978 movie? Or does she mean, which I hope that's not what she means, because obviously we want to keep that intact, or how the events of the 1978 film and now how the events of the 2018 film, which are present and current, are affecting Halloween Kills and everybody involved there. Because Tommy's back, Lindsay's back, Marion's like, what's going on? There's no doubt there will be some reminiscing. Obviously, we know there's a flashback in the new movie in regards to Lonnie Elam. So, I mean, we know that that's there. So there'll be a moment where he's probably reflecting on something and we go back to that and all that kind of stuff. So that could also take up a lot of time through that exposition and kind of discovering who these characters are again, which is interesting as well, because when you think of this as a 3-act play, even though the original 1978 movie is canon and is part of this, it's really a quadrilogy. It's more of a 4-act play. But if you think of H18 Kills and Ends as its own thing, this second chapter should be quite dark. and should not go all that well for our protagonists, right? So there should be a lot of development here. There should be a lot of insight into how these people have been. They come together. That's where this film is probably going to be focused. There's going to be a lot of kills and blood, guts, and gore. Yeah, okay, that'll be there too. But in terms of the character development, this should be a layered film. More layered, well, yeah, maybe a little bit more layered than Ends will be. And Ends is sort of that, a culmination of all that. So that might be how they're approaching it as well. I'm just so curious because I don't know how they're going to... Extending it is really interesting to me. Great question, Chris, and thanks for the support to the channel and the Super Chat. Really appreciate it. Brian Swanson says, Dave, what direction do you think Halloween 2018 would have gone if Laurie would have went with a journalist to visit Michael? Oh, geez. I don't know. I actually think that, and I believe this was the original plan. I don't know, but I think that what I sort of piggybacking off of what you said there, I always liked the idea that Laurie was responsible for Michael's release instead of alluding to the fact that it was Sartain. And I believe, I stand to be corrected, but I believe that may have been one of their original ideas. And I think that would have been cool because she's so obsessed with Mike. She's obsessed. It's ruined her life. It's why she's the hermit she is, essentially. It's why she's the crazy cat lady. She doesn't have any cats, I don't think. But you know what I mean? She's that crazy cat lady that lives on the edge of town. I mean, that's why she's that way. Two failed relationships, I think they said. She's good with her, but that usually can happen. Usually a grandmother, it depends how bad you really are, but it's not unprecedented to see a grandmother that was not a good parent, but have a better relationship with their granddaughter or son. You see that's actually very common, and there's reasons for that. And but she failed as a parent. Now we begin to see that sort of that makeup. I'm so sorry, baby. I'm sorry. I love you. At the end of H18, and you'll no doubt see that continue in Halloween Kills. But I think that that would have been interesting, and I think it would have been interesting. Yeah, there's a lot you could have done there. Her going to the asylum, seeing him for the first time in many years, maybe something happens that, not necessarily that she causes the escape there, but you can kind of see it, rolling around in her mind that Halloween's approaching. It's the 40th anniversary. She just senses something in him like, oh my God, it's going to happen again. Like she almost can sense it. I don't mean in a Halloween 5 kind of sense. It's an intuitive thing. Right? She almost has this feeling like, I got a bad feeling about this. She kind of has that feeling. And so we kind of see that, and then maybe, you go on with the movie, but then there's a bus crash and you find out, oh my God, Laurie might have been responsible for it. And that kind of would have been cool. I would have been down with that. Super chat comes in from Mark Warling. Thank you, Mark. Says, should they have the Shape Hunts Allison music in the new movie? And how should they use that type of music? They missed their chance in the 18 movie. Yes, and yes. Yes, I do think they should have it in there. I want to see an extended version of that. I was always disappointed. That's one of the things that H18 lacked for me was a real sense of suspense per se. Because any suspense that the movie may have had was destroyed in the marketing. You look at Vicky, for example. You've heard me say this before. We knew when Vicky was going to die. We knew how she was going to die, and we knew where she was going to die because they destroyed that in the marketing. Now, I understand why they utilized that in the marketing, and David Gordon Green would have had no say in that. I understand why, but it's disappointing because as soon as you see her on screen, you know how this is going. You know how this is going to go down. So there was very little suspense in the movie, and I think that was an opportunity in the 2018 film to draw that scene out more, to really see a chase scene that we haven't seen in a long time, and very reminiscent of the chase scene in Halloween 1978, to let us, to have more time with Allison, because although Allison is the new Laurie Strode per se, she's only that in title because of where she falls in the lineage, and because of the relationship with her, grandma, and the way she looks, and who would be be the new Laurie of this new, series? Well, you would point to Allison just by default, almost. Not because of any sort of real character development or time that we've spent with her and really got a chance to really like her. Like, at the end of the day, and I speak only for myself, I know this, although some may agree, that if Allison had died in the 2018 movie, I wouldn't have cared. Not because I don't think she has potential, but because there wasn't anything in that movie that made me really care about her. So I think that opportunity to have her being chased by Michael into backyards with the, boom, boom, and or, all and the moonlight, and then it's quiet for a moment, extend that out, you see the shape in the distance, and, and I think that was a big opportunity missed. So I would like to see something like that in this movie, a real classic Halloween chase. That is utilizing this new music by Carpenter, Cody Carpenter and Daniel Davies. I think that would be great. So yeah, I agree with you there. Super Chat Oliver Mercer says, hey Dave, to H18, would you have kept H2 for its events? It's currently writing a Terminator Future War called, I'm currently writing a Terminator Future War script called Terminator Future Survival. Very cool, Oliver. Congratulations and good luck with it. It's a catch-22. No, I probably would have made the same decision. And the reason is because of the fact that, in the original intent of the character of Michael would have died in the fire. Now, that doesn't mean that in this new movie, obviously Michael is in the fire, he escapes somehow. But if you are actually seeing Michael burn, he's had his eyeballs shot out. Yes, that was John Carpenter killing the character because they were going in a new direction. Michael was a human being, but he had a very weird supernatural edge and element to him that always kept you guessing. He was human, but was he? And that's what made the character work so well. But he could actually die. So it's the original intent I'm talking about, and that's what this new character is. So that's very difficult to go back to and keep Halloween 2 canon because of that. And of course the brother-sister arc, you don't really need, but people love that. But what I do like about part 2 is the trauma and that everything that would have only added to the 2018 movie to Laurie's character. And I said that a few moments ago. So that I would have loved to have kept, but the other stuff, I understand why they didn't. I really do. Holly Klein says, love the shape hunts Allison. That scene should have been so much longer. Could not agree more. Let me see here. Scrolling. Keep that scrolling going. Dr. Splinter says, do you think that they will reference any of her deceased 78 friends in kills? I think they should do that. I agree with you that I think they should do that. I think they should have done that in H18. Instead of having the journalists at Judith Meyer's grave site, which I understand, but instead of having that, I would have swapped that out with Laurie standing at the gravestone of Annie or Linda and Bob. I think it would have added another layer to Laurie's character, and to see that, and she's there, and it's quiet, and maybe you hear like a crow, and the wind softly blows her hair as she's staring down, and you just kind of see her like this, and you can see the tears, and maybe this happens after she goes to the asylum to visit Michael with the journalists, right? So you kind of see that maybe she's got an idea. You as an audience don't really know what that idea is, but you know that she's almost intuitively feeling something. Of course, you later find out it's that I need to kill the shape once and for all. So she breaks him out, 40th anniversary, blah, blah, blah. That would have been a nice moment to see that. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to see it. Maybe we will. But I would have loved to have seen that. I think that would have been really cool. And then as Laurie is leaving, because remember, in this new timeline, Judith Myers is not Laurie's sister, right? So I understand why they went back to Judith's gravestone. I get it. That was his first kill. I do think that's important. I do. But it's not important to Laurie. So it would be important to the journalists. I get it. I understand it, but I still would have swapped that out with Laurie not talking, but maybe to Bob or Linda or Annie's stone or stones. And then as she's leaving the graveyard, the camera is on a dolly, on some dolly track, and we're just kind of, watching her leave. We're doing this nice tracking shot, and then as she's walking, we see gravestones, headstones in front, like, in the foreground. And then as she exits frame, we stop, and we stop right on Judith's gravestone. I think that would have been really nice. Like, there's Judith's gravestone. So it tells you that they're all buried in the same cemetery. I think that would have been a stronger scene, because it's going back to Laurie's, all about Laurie's character. So I like that. That's what I would have written. Whether that would have got in the movie or not, I don't know. But just that nice tracking shot, because you're thinking about it, right? You're like, oh, there's Laurie and Bob, but yeah, Judith Myers, I wonder if she's anywhere. Like, you're thinking about it, and you see Laurie leaving. And so, I guess that's it. But all of a sudden, we just kind of go like this, and we stop, and Laurie exits frame, and there it is. You know what I mean? Would have been really cool, I think. Let's see here. DTUK says, Halloween 1 and 2 worked well because it was essentially Myers pursuing Laurie, Loomis pursuing Myers, simplistic brilliance. Yeah, well, there's a number of reasons why it worked. I mean, Halloween 2 from 1981 is not a necessary sequel, but it works well because of the way it was set up, because of the the idea of having it continue right from where part 1 left off. So it's essentially one movie in 2 parts. Now, I still believe that the second installment is far inferior to the first one, and you guys all know why. I don't need to go into that, but I've always enjoyed Halloween 2 for what it was, primarily because of that. It feels organic. It feels like an appropriate sequel. And there's some things in there that I like. My favorite scene in the whole movie, I think, is when Janet is backing up into the darkness after finding the, needle in Dr. Mixter's eyes, right? And she's backing up, and all of a sudden, Dick Warlock's face slowly comes out. I mean, that was the most Halloween 1 moment in Halloween 2, and you could probably have Dean Cundy to thank for that, and Rick Rosenthal as well. But yeah, cool stuff indeed. Let me see here. Super chat comes in from Ryan Duro. Ryan Duro. Dave, you're the man. Well, I appreciate that, buddy. Can't wait for the fan films you're working on, brother. Your work is always quality. At work at the moment. We'll listen later. Keep it up. Awesome. There you go, my man. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm really excited about the fan films that I am a part of. I mean, obviously, we have Dylan's new Nightmare. I'm going to be playing Freddy Krueger opposite Miko Hughes. The only other person that has played Freddy opposite Miko is Robert Englund. So that's pretty darn cool. And that should go into production at some point in the next few months. And then, of course, I'm in development on It's Me, Billy, which is my Black Christmas fan film, which will be a high production, high quality fan film as well. So I'm excited about that. So yeah, really exciting stuff. Going to be a very interesting year, 2020. And then, of course, I got this new show that I'm doing with you guys. I'm constantly upgrading stuff. I'm going to be having a new audio setup coming very soon. So you'll probably notice a difference. I purchased just recently and there's nothing wrong with this mic, but I'm always updating my soundboards and my mixers and all that kind of stuff. So I just... I upgraded to the Shure SM7B. This is the mic I'll be using. This is a nice quality dynamic mic, great for this kind of thing. I have a voiceover booth over there, which is where I do all my voiceover work, and I use the Audio-Technica 4050 and the U87, the Neumann U87. But for this is just the mic that I use for my shows here. But I'm upgrading, constantly upgrading, and it's because of you guys. Everything I make for the channel goes right back into the channel. So, that's what it's all about, folks. Rick Baker says, I love Halloween 2. To me, it bookends the story and wraps up the loose ends. And I say, oh, it does. I still don't believe that the brother-sister story arc is necessary. Now, there are a lot of people that are emotionally attached to it, love it. And does it work? Oh, it absolutely works, Rick. 100%. But if you take out the dream sequence that Laurie had and replace it with, instead of her having a dream about her mother saying, I'm not your mother, and what are you doing? And her seeing Michael in the asylum, and you replace it of her having a dream about the events that just happened. Maybe it's a flashback to her in the closet. Oh my God, this kind of stuff. And you change a bit of the dialogue in the back of the marshal's car between Marion and Dr. Loomis. Instead of Marion talking, that Strode girl, that's Michael Myers' sister. And you change a few things around, it plays out the exact same. And the audience, you don't need to tell the audience this, but it should become very apparent then that the reason why Michael is now going after Laurie is because of that infatuation, and she's the one that got away. Like, where is she? Geez, he's infatuated with her, and he's killing everybody in his sight as he gets there. And then the movie would end pretty much the same way. And I still think you could have done that, but adding that different layer does add a bit of a different, makes it a little more interesting, maybe for a viewer that isn't particularly caring about that, right? But you're right, it does bookend everything, and and then of course they open it up again. But even Halloween 1 bookends, when you understand what that movie really is, it's just this Hitchcockian 90-minute Twilight Zone episode, essentially. It bookends itself well, too, so even a sequel wasn't necessary. Pride Sayen says, do you remember my idea, Dave, of Halloween Kills should be less with big Michaelness, but a big plot twist at the end, and Halloween Ends will go full out? It was a super chat. I don't remember that, and that's not personal, of course. I mean, I get so many, but that's interesting. That's pretty cool. That's interesting. Who knows? Maybe. Let's see here. Dave, will you be watching? This is Tree says, tree. Oh, what kind of tree? Are you maple tree? Are you a spruce tree? Oh, tree, just tree. Dave, will you be watching the Halloween Kills trailer since the 2018 trailer spoiled so much? Yes, because I don't know if it's because of my mind frame or my mindset, but very few things spoil things for me. I read all of the Rise of Skywalker leaks, and I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. For what it was. So it doesn't. This world of spoilers, it's a very interesting place to be, because what's a spoiler to me is not necessarily a spoiler to you. I mean, if you were to break it down, there is such thing as a objective spoiler. Like, I think we all would agree that, he told me enough. He told me you killed him. No, I am your father. I mean, I think we would all agree that's probably a spoiler. Most people would probably want to, because a spoiler, it changes the fundamental foundation of everything you thought you knew. It changes the direction of what's to come, right? I mean, it changes everything. Knowing that, I don't know, knowing that, what's something that some people often say? But for some, like, a spoiler for some could just be anything. Like, oh my God, you mean he's got pink shoelaces? Oh my God. Oh my God, you mean he's wearing a tie? I mean, it literally can get that ridiculous. They don't want to know anything. What? He smiled in that scene? Ah! I mean, it literally, like, I'm being, satirical to make a point, but it literally can get that crazy. So I always do my best to tread lightly, but at the end of the day, I'm going to talk about what I talk about, and I will always preface these shows. And if there was something I was talking about anything that I felt had real big spoilers in it, and that the vast majority of people would probably think that, then I would have a spoiler caption on my screen right now. But I didn't today, and I was talking about how Halloween Kills and Ends supposedly happen in the same night. So, and I don't think that's a spoiler. Now, there is no doubt somebody out there be like, oh, I didn't want to know that. And we say, well, it's the risk you take when you watch I don't think it's a spoiler. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, I have to make an executive decision, of whether or not is this a spoiler or not, whatever the case is. I can't pander to everybody, because you're not going to please. If you try to please everybody, you're going to end up pleasing nobody. So, yeah, like it's interesting. I'm trying to think where the tree day we watched. Yeah. So for me, it takes a lot to spoil things. I can watch most trailers and be okay going in. So I will probably watch it. Yeah, I will, because I'm curious to see what they're going to do. And of course, I'll be talking about it on here with a spoiler caption on the screen, of course. But you know what? Hey, for some people, they want to go in blind completely. They don't want to know anything there is to know. And that's okay. I respect that. 100%. Frank Riker, Super Chat. Thank you, Frank. Frank the Tank, my good old moderator, says, hey, Dave, how unique was Loomis being a doctor and not a cop or vengeful family member trying to stop Michael? Never saw that before Halloween. I don't know. I don't know how original it was, but it's cool because Dr. Loomis is Michael is the enigma. Michael is the mystique. Michael is the unknown. So you needed a character in there that was his almost the antithesis of that. It was his balance. So you had his psychiatrist that even though he didn't even know, he was able to talk because he spent 8 years trying to reach him and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up because I realized it was him. That was purely something. You know, you had that guy that you could turn to that had, you know, even at the very least, rudimentary answers. Well, listen, I watched him for 15 years, sitting in a room, staring at a wall, not seeing the wall, looking past the wall. You know, and I know there are a lot of Halloween fans out there that take that literally, that he means literally he just sat there, sitting in a room, staring at a wall, not seeing the wall. Look, I have no doubt that he probably peed and pooped and ate and went to bed. But it's a figure of speech. It's that he literally didn't do anything. Like I couldn't reach him. I'm no further along now, really, than I was when I met him when he was 6. And that's essentially what there's something weird about him. There's something there's more. Like there's evil here, you know, and you needed that character to sort of play into that. And I don't know if a cop would have had the relationship that his psychiatrist would have. Right? The cop would have just been trying to hunt him down, right? We've seen that a lot. The cop is just trying to hunt him down. But he doesn't have that knowledge or that perspective that Dr. Loomis had. So you needed a Dr. Loomis type of character in there to sort of give a bit of perspective of what was going on, but still keep it within the wheelhouse of, you know, anonymity, which was fantastic. I mean, even Loomis gives so much without giving anything. Like, think about this. I watched him for 15 years, sitting in a room, staring at a wall, not seeing the wall, looking past the wall, you know, waiting for this night, inhumanly patient. Death has come to your little town, Sheriff. You can have... There's a lot said there, but there's not a lot given, right? You know what I mean? I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to, you know, keep him locked up because I realized what was living I know was purely and simply evil. I mean, there's so much said, but so little given, you know, and that was brilliant. It was brilliant. Let me see. Super chat comes in from Mark Warling again. Thank you, Mark. Very much appreciated. Do you think they should have flashbacks of Loomis? If so, how would it affect the movie? What kind of Loomis scenes should they have? Well, somebody earlier in the stream asked if I think there will be a flashback of Loomis. I don't think there will be. I mean, but it depends on what kind of flashbacks they're doing. Is it the fully fleshed out realized scenes, or is it the dreamlike stuff? So I don't really know. Do I think they need it? I don't think they need it, because I think that Tommy, Lindsay, Marion, and Brackett should be strong enough to carry it. And Brackett, I think there should be somebody else there, like Chambers. Because, see, Marion Chambers was Dr. Loomis's nurse. So I think, I believe that the 2 people in Halloween Kills that are likely going to step up are like if I was a writer and looking at the characters, the logical choice first is Marion Chambers, because she's had the relationship with Loomis. So when Michael was locked up, when Michael was captured again and locked up before Loomis died, there would have been stories and things and experiences that Marion had that she can give insight on, you would think, right? Because it's not like Loomis died right away. Marion would have known Dr. Sartain. So there's things, there's perspectives and insights that Marion would have that is going to give context to this new film. So she's number 1. The next person in line would be Brackett, not because of his age. I mean, yes, because of his age, but not just because of that, but because Michael killed his daughter, and presumably his only daughter, as far as I know. So who knows where that would have gone? Did he become obsessed with him? Did he want answers? How did that affect Brackett's life moving forward? What sort of things does Brackett know about Michael moving forward? Now, you could say the same thing about Tommy or Lindsay. You could say the same thing about everybody, but I think the logical choice there is Marion Chambers. And I think Marion should now step up and not replace Dr. Loomis, but she becomes that source of information, that source of speculation, that source of, you know, generalization in terms of what are we dealing with here. that you turn to. And I think that, yeah, she's the most logical choice in that. I don't think you need Dr. Loomis. I mean, you could have his voice again, but I don't think you necessarily need it. Sean McBride says, Dave, do you think Halloween 2018 would have been better with the original stingers? Like when Michael pops up behind the car. You mean like, no, I don't think it would have been better. I don't think it necessarily would have been worse, but, I think there are a lot of people that watch that today and kind of laugh. So no, not necessarily. I don't think it would have been better. Frank Riker sends in a super chat. Thank you so much again, Frank. Really appreciate it. Would you have liked to have seen Sartain last all the way till ends, but then went all obsessed with Michael like he did H18, maybe kill someone hurting Michael? I like Dr. Sartain's character. I had a bit of a hiccup there. I like Dr. Sartain's character. I really do. I really like his character. But I didn't like what they did with his character. I liked his character in terms of, I liked his accent. I liked his approach. He seemed sophisticated and intelligent and, I think there's something I need to, it just, I didn't hate his character. I just didn't like what they did with his character. So had his character been written differently in Halloween Kills and he was able to maybe last, I would be okay with him returning. And then it would have been interesting to see the dynamic between Sartain and Chambers. And maybe there's a bit of a dynamic there that is bit strained, right? Maybe there's a direction that Sartain wanted to go in that Marion is convinced, no, like you don't understand. You're not listening. You're not doing what Loomis told you to do. You're not listening. Well, I think that, blah, 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 blah. No, you know what the fuck we're dealing with here. That would have been an interesting dynamic to see play out between Chambers and Sartain. Unfortunately, we're not going to see that, but yeah, I would have been okay with that. Turning and going crazy, yeah. I mean, maybe it would have been okay because it would have felt earned. Maybe if you had more time to let him breathe and his relationship grow, I might have been okay with that. If you had more time with it. Yeah, because maybe it would have felt like, it didn't feel like it came out of nowhere and it was coming out of left field. But, at the end of the day, I don't know. It's interesting. But I liked his character. I just didn't like what they did with it. I thought his character was kind of cool, but yeah, what the hell are they doing? Gary Rangel says, Dave, do you think they could have gotten a better actor to play Sheriff Barker, to play a more concerned and intimidating sheriff because the actor from 2018 didn't seem to care? Well, could they have gotten a better actor? Sure. But it wasn't the actor's problem. The actor was directed to be this way. This is who you are. This is the character you are. I would have directed him to be different. I would have said, you're not skeptical. You're not laughing at the idea of Michael returning. You understand the seriousness of the situation. You may be skeptical, but you're not outright sort of, being condescending about it. You understand that you might have to protect your town now, and you take things seriously. And maybe we will see that. I mean, maybe in Halloween Kills, we will see Barker more serious and taking things a little more seriously, because we should. Because I don't believe that if the one, and we don't know if it's the only thing, but if your little town of Haddonfield, Illinois, is forever plagued by this one incident, this massacre that happened in Halloween 1978, I don't think that the threat of the return of this character would cause you to brush that off. So like it doesn't matter. I don't believe that the character would do that. I believe the character would understand the history of the town, would understand the seriousness of the situation. So I didn't like his character in Halloween 2018. But it had nothing to do with the actor. I just would have said to David, I would have said, let's direct him differently. Let's make him take this more seriously. And hopefully we see that in Halloween Kills. But it's a good question, Frank. Really good question. Let's see. Jerp Pin says the twist just didn't make any sense. Just way too crazy. Well, no, it didn't. it just didn't feel earned. I didn't believe that this would happen. It was very strange. It felt shoehorned in as we needed a reason to get Michael to Laurie's house, so we'll have the crazy doctor go crazy. And it did line up, like it lined up in the sense that obviously Dr. Sartain is very curious on what would happen, seeing Laurie and Michael, out of captivity in the wild, he was very obsessed with that. But I think if you had taken a moment, maybe an extra afternoon to sit down and think about this, I think there could have been a better way to do it. And I didn't like that at all. So I have a love-hate relationship with the character of Sartain. Or like-hate. Not like I love him, but I think you know what I'm talking about. Chris Baber sends in a super chat. Thank you, Chris. Much appreciated. Barker versus Brackett in one verbal showdown would be interesting, you probably mean, right? Yes, it would. And maybe that's some way that you do it, and again, we have to remember that Halloween 2 from 1981, all those events that happened in Halloween 2, Brackett going, "You let him out." I didn't let him out. "You let him out." I didn't let him. That never happened. Halloween 2 does not exist. That never happened in this new timeline. Everything that happened in Halloween 2 did not happen. So it's almost, you almost forget that. Not that everything that happened in Halloween 1 isn't horrific, but we don't know. Like the last time we saw Brackett, we're about to see him again in Halloween Kills, but the last time we saw him was him talking to Dr. Loomis on the street, and Loomis going, "He's here, the car's there, he's 2 doors down, you go down, you watch the front, I'll watch the back." And Brackett goes, "All right," and drives off. Out of frame. That's the last time we saw Sheriff Brackett. So who knows what the hell happened? What was his reaction to Annie's death? Was it, "You let him out"? Maybe. But that isn't canon anymore in this new timeline. So there's so much we don't know. There's so much we don't know about how it affected Brackett and what happened after that and the paramedics and all that kind of shit, right? So maybe you do have Barker a little more, maybe he's still kind of the same way. And maybe you use that as an opportunity for Brackett to step up and say, "Hey, I remember this shit. He fucking killed my daughter. This is serious, right? Don't fucking give me this. I'm dead serious here. You don't know what the fuck you're dealing with." Might be interesting. I'm with you there. I'd be down to exploring that. Whether they do that or not, I don't know. But I'd be down to exploring that. I find that interesting. Let me see here. Michael Roja says he passed away during Halloween 6. Yes, but Halloween 6 is not canon. Let me see here. Frank Riker, another super chat. Thanks, buddy. Really appreciate your support for the channel, man. How great would it be if Dr. Mixter shows up drunk in Kills? Oh, Laurie, you lost a lot of blood. He could. Everything that happened. Dr. Mixter is there. Maybe there will be a doctor. Maybe there will be a doctor in Halloween Kills named Dr. Mixter. I could totally see that. I could see that. I think that'd be funny. That'd be really funny. He shows up, he's like, Laurie! Oh, you're here, Laurie. How are you? Sit down. All of a sudden, he's English. Sit down, Laurie. No, he's not. Sit down, Laurie. You're here. Oh, with your parents fucking, I'll just get a needle and stick it in it. Oh, look at all that blood, bitch. Can you imagine? That'd be funny. Let me see. What do we got? We got Death Valley Production says, "Hey Dave, are you going to make another Halloween fan film? Like as long as there's no immediate plans to do that, because I want to start to explore other things. Although It's Me, Billy is not an original piece, it feels more original than it's more original than the Halloween stuff that I've been doing. So I feel a little more liberated with It's Me, Billy, because there are not, if at all, there's very little Black Christmas fan films online. There's no, actually, I'm safe. Like there, I mean, that doesn't mean there haven't been one that's been made, but I think if you YouTube like Black Christmas fan film, one comes up. I think there's a clip from like a 30-second home movie one or something like that. So there just isn't. It's just not there. So I saw sort of a void that needed to be filled, and I'm a huge fan. And Black Christmas over the last number of years has become has garnered more of a cult following again. People have taken another look at it. and appreciated it for what it is. So I see sort of, and because there's not a lot of stuff and there's not a lot of mythology and there's not a lot of history, even though I'm doing a fan film that is a direct sequel to the original set 45 years later, it feels like I'm in a sandbox with just that it's new. It feels original. So I'd like to sort of steer more in that direction, but that doesn't mean that I won't do little tiny things again. But I like to, because I also am in development on a major feature that I've been in development on for the better part of 20 years, since my second year of college. It's a full-length feature film original that I want to get made too. So there's other things I want to do as well. And of course I got the show and the voiceover work I do and all that kind of jazz. So a busy bee, as they say. Let me see here. Let me see if I can get somebody I have not gotten. Let me see here. Aaron Ponder says, I disagree, Dave. I like the plot twist of Sartain. It added a surprise element to the movie that helped the pace. Well, if that worked for you, then that's great. That's great. It didn't work for me. I thought it was dog shit. But if you think it's a nice, pristine glass of wine, that's okay. Someone's dog shit is someone else's pristine cold beer, right? Am I right? Am I right? Am I fucking right? I'm right. Let me see here. Let me go along here. Robbie Cazio, looking forward to It's Me, Billy. Yeah, I am too, man. I'm really excited about this. Really excited. We're still in development. The script is done. We've broken down the crew list. We've broken down the prop list, and we're now in the middle of creating a shot list. And what a shot list is you go through the entire script, scene by scene, and you figure out how you're going to shoot it, right? What is our director of photography, our DP going to, now things always change. I mean, once you get on set, you realize, oh, you know what? Why don't we do this instead of this? But you need a blueprint of how your movie is going to be shot, because that, of course, you have to be prepared for that. You can't figure out, what you're going to do when you wind up on set. I mean, you have to have at least an idea of what you're going to shoot, what the camera angles are going to be like, how it's going to be shot, what angle are we going to shoot this, conversation. Is this a master with close-ups, or is it just a master? You know what I mean? Or, whatever the case is, right? So we're in the middle of breaking that down now. We've broken down the opening of our film. There's about 26 shots in the opening, and we have to continue to break down the rest of the script. So it's tedious, it's long, but it's fun. Yeah. For sure. Terrell Sim says, how is Dylan's New Nightmare going? Do you keep in touch with the cast and crew? I do. Oh, yeah. I'm not a producer on that film. I'm just an actor. So I'm not kept in the loop, per se, in the day-to-day going-ons of Dylan's New Nightmare, nor would I be. I mean, that wouldn't make any sense. I'm not a producer. So Cecil, who's an awesome dude, keeps me in the loop when it's necessary. So it's like, hey, Dave, I just want to let you know this is what I'm thinking. I want to let you know I need this, or, whatever the case is. So I assume it's going well. I mean, obviously they missed their goal by a little bit, but they raised enough that they will be able to go forward and create the full movie. So I assume that they're well deep into pre-production now, and it's really awesome. And I'm just sort of waiting by to hear the details. So yeah, I know that I think the plan is they want to go to camera sometime in, March or April or May or something like that is when they want to shoot this thing. So yeah, it's exciting stuff, man. Definitely exciting. Duke Fleed says, yo, wonderful movie. Yeah, wonderful movie. She was in Romeo and Juliet. Yes. Yeah. Oh, she's primarily, that's her big claim to fame. And then Black Christmas. And she was also in It, the miniseries from 1990. She was, what's his face? Billy? Is it Billy? No, what's his name? The guy that had, why am I drawing a blank on this? Bill. Yeah, Bill, right? The guy that had the stutter? Anyway, she played his wife, the adult, she played his wife in the original It, the miniseries from 1990. So, yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, oh, she's been in a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. And Michael Dean says, Dave, I love the decorations in the background. Oh, cool. Thanks. I remember when you pretty much had a white wall. Been with you since day one, buddy. Love yourself. Well, thank you, Michael. It's always awesome to hear from people who've been with me since day one. I did. Yeah, I pretty much had a blank wall back there. But since people have sent me things and I've tried to put things back there and all that kind of jazz, so it's always cool to hear from people that have been with me since I started. And like I said, I've had this channel since 2006. So I've had it since the beginning, YouTube's infancy, essentially, but I've only started doing this, I guess, I guess I'm in my third year of doing this. I think it was 2017 that I started to really kind of do this. Let's see. Tyshawn Anderson says, Hi, Dave. Morning. It's 11:20 a.m. in Alabama. Well, hello, Alabama. It's 12:24 here in Toronto. Tiffany Moses Shante? It's Shante, right? Tiffany Moses Shante. Hey, Dave, I made it! Tiffany! Love to see you. Awesome! It's always great when great supporters of the channel can dig in and find some time to check this show out. Awesome. Looking good, Tiffany. Let's see here. Mr. Genre says they need to give Dr. Loomis a TV series pre-Michael Myers, an updated take like what Gotham did with Jim Gordon. Well, my quick thought on that, we'll go for another 5 minutes here, folks. Another 5 minutes on this Friday, January the 17th, 2020. My thing, I would be okay maybe seeing a Dr. Loomis series, maybe his time at Smith's Grove, but I don't necessarily feel confident in a Michael series because we already know how that went. He spent 8 years trying to reach him and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up because apparently what he realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely simply evil. So, and I think you run the risk of destroying the mystique of Michael if we see that process. We see that 15 years. Now, if you want to go back before Michael, and then maybe the series kind of ends, maybe when it gets to like its 4th or 5th season, it ends with Dr. Loomis, there's been a murder in Haddonfield, or there's a little boy, and maybe that's how it ends. And if you want to know what happened, well, just watch the fucking first Halloween movie. I just feel that I don't want to know that. Now, maybe for you do want to know that. And you're like, no, that doesn't ruin it for me. I'd love to know that. And that's cool. That's okay. But for me, I don't need to know that because I think you run the risk of knowing too much about Michael. And Michael works best when we really don't know anything about him. So a Dr. Loomis series pre-Michael, maybe in the late 50s, might be interesting. And Dr. Loomis is a guy like maybe in his mid-40s. Well, that might be interesting. Who knows? I don't know. Fascinating stuff. Super chat, Big G, love the jacket. Where can I get one? Well, this was from, is this Fright Rags, I believe. I stand to be corrected. This jacket is from Fright Rags. I don't know if and there's a big Halloween pumpkin on the back there, as you can see. A big Halloween pumpkin on the back. I don't know. I think it was Fright Rags, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if they have any available for sale at the moment, but they might. So just head to frightrags.com and check it out. I think this is about 100 something bucks. Nice. This is is this a medium? Yeah, I think this is a medium. This is a large. No, it's a medium. It's a medium. So yeah, check it out, folks. Frightrags.com. It's an awesome jacket, and it's really good quality too. I was impressed. Let me see here. Dominic Venturino says, Dave, besides Freddy and the Michael, what other horror icon would you like to play on screen? That's a good question. Horror icon would I like to play on screen? I don't know. I have no idea. That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I'm not big enough to be Jason. I'm big enough to be Freddy. I'm 5'8". I'm not a tall guy. I'm not short. I'm just kind of in the middle there. 5'8". You put boots on me, I become 5'9". So I'm essentially Dick Warlock in Halloween too. And so I could play Freddy for sure. I can play Michael, Jason. I mean, I can play Sackhead Jason because he wasn't that big of a guy. But once you get to like Ted White and Richard Brooker and Kane Hodder, although Kane Hodder's not a tall guy. I know. I guess here I'm going to go into that again. I know he likes to say that he's 6'2" or 3". He's not. There's no way. And if he is, then that means every broad that he was killing in a Friday the 13th movie was also 6 foot. But anyway, that aside, Love you, Kane. Love you, Kane. I'm just skeptical that you're 6'3". Let me see here. I think he's got some lifts in his boots. But I don't know. It's a good question, man. I'm not sure. That's a really good question. I don't know. I got to think about that. Scream, maybe, I guess. Ghostface, maybe. I don't know. I got to have fun with that. Let me see here. Johnny Russell says, name 3 people in horror you would love to interview. 3 people in horror that I would love to interview. I'd love to interview John Carpenter because I think I could get to him. I don't mean in a bad way. I think John and I would have first name basis. I think Johnny and I would have a good conversation. I would love to interview, why am I drawing a blank on his name? Rick Baker, that's it. I would love to interview Rick Baker. I think interviewing Rick Baker would be really cool. I know he was on Joe Rogan's podcast a few months back. He would be cool. And then, you know what? Maybe Robert Englund. Anybody. Curtis, Castle, Craven. It'd be awesome. But I think Robert Englund would be cool because he never shuts up and he talks a lot. And I never shut up and I talk a lot. And I think that's either a recipe for a disaster or an absolutely incredible interview because we're both like, fuck yeah, and going back and forth. I think that would be kind of fun. That's just off the top of my head. But of course, when I get off here, I'd probably think of like 10 more. Let me see. Aaron Anderson sends in a super chat. Thank you, buddy. Boss is gone for the day. Listening to you at work. Have you ever been to Texas? Yeehaw. No, it's so stereotypical. Isn't it? It's like somebody have you ever been to Canada, eh? You don't talk like that up here. No, I've never been to Texas. And I'd love to go, though. I hear really cool things about Texas. So I would love to go to Texas, and because I think that would be really cool. Okay, it's 12:30. Okay, a couple more here. It is 12:30. Let me see. DT UK says, bye, Frank. Bye, Frank. Oh, Frank's taking off. Gotta go, guys, but I wish everyone here the best, and thanks for being who you are. Take care, Frank. Great to see you. Let's see. Dylan McMillan says, what about a series about what happened after Halloween 1978? I don't want to see Michael getting captured, but I would like to see how the town of Haddonfield reacted to the killings. Maybe. I don't know if you could have a series about that. Like, to extend that to a series would be difficult. Maybe a mini series where it's like, 5 or 6 episodes and that's it. You're in and out. Or maybe you include that as part of the narrative in Halloween Kills. I can certainly see that. A 4 or 5, season series on that. I don't know. Maybe, but I'm skeptical on because you don't want to extend that unnecessarily. You know what I mean? Danita Brown says, have a great weekend, Dave. Everyone, you too, Danita. You too. All right, folks, that is going to do it for me. Oh, super chat. Oh, last super chat. You got one in under the radar. Joshy Russell says, do you think spending a day with Tom Savini would be good? Talking about his work. Oh, yeah. Rick Baker, Tom Savini would be amazing, too. 100%. Oh, yeah. I'd love, of course, he's dead now, but Stan Winston would have been amazing. You know what I mean? Anybody who has that level of experience in the world of horror from that perspective in the practical effects area would be amazing. I absolutely agree. But yeah, that is going to do it for me here on episode 6 of Mcrae Live, talking some Halloween Kills and ends, some timeline clues there. The clues came from Nick Castle, and of course, talking about our predictions and what we want to see and what we don't want to see. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this show as much as I did. I always enjoy talking Halloween with you guys, and I want you guys to have a great rest of your weekend. And this Monday, I'll be back Monday on episode 53, I think it is, of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. I sent out a poll on, and put 2 movies up, It Follows and Stir of Echoes. Which one do you guys want Tony and I to talk about on the next show this coming Monday at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on this channel? And it looks like it's going to be It Follows. No surprise, really. I think, although I love Stir of Echoes, I was hoping it would be more of a neck-and-neck race. No, It Follows is completely annihilating Stir of Echoes. That doesn't mean we won't watch it in the future, but it looks like this Monday, Tony and I will be giving live commentary and taking your questions on It Follows. So that's going to be cool. 7 o'clock p.m. on episode, I think it's 53. Is it 53? I think it's 53 of Two Dudes. Man, I'm losing count. We're going crazy. Two Dudes is becoming a real kind of big success here on the show, and it's awesome. We have a lot of fun doing it. Just two guys sitting around watching movies, talking to you guys. We're all watching movies. It's great stuff. Anyway, I gotta skedaddle because I got some things I have to do, including I got to buy a new mixer, and I'm just always trying to improve your experience here on the show. So in the meantime and in between time, that will do it for me on episode 6 of Mcrae Live. I'll be back next Tuesday. I'll be back Monday night for Two Dudes, but Mcrae Live next Tuesday morning at 11 a.m. here on this YouTube channel. So in the meantime and in between time, I will talk to you guys soon. Cheers.